Hey there Cosmic Warriors, and welcome back to another video. And if you are new here, my name is Hannah. I am an astrologer and I make videos all about astrology. Okay, so in today's video we're going to be discussing the asteroid Pallas within the natal chart. So looking at the mythology of Pallas, followed by its function within your natal chart. And then we're going to finish off by looking at Pallas through the signs. So stay tuned. Now, before we do dive into today's video, I just want to give a shout out to the authors of this book. So Demetra George and Douglas Bloch. If I'm pronouncing those names incorrectly, I do sincerely apologize. But yes, they co-wrote this book, Asteroid Goddesses. It is a great book when learning about the asteroids within the natal chart. I definitely recommend it. Though before we do dive into today's video as well, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button and click the bell. And if you are interested in a personal reading from myself, then you can visit my website, hannahselsewhere.com. There you can also find my practical astrology ebooks and merch. All the links will be in the description box below. I do hope that you find this video to be helpful today. Let's do this. Alright, so Pallas, aka Pallas Athena, was a goddess of wisdom, war, victory, and justice. And interestingly, the city of Athens was named after her. She wore armor and tight draperies, and in her hands she held both a shield and a spear, and she also wore a helmet. And she was accompanied by an owl and a snake. The owl stood for wisdom and the snake stood for prophecy. Now she also had many gifts, many skills. For example, she invented the trumpet and the flute. And she was also known as the goddess of arts and crafts. So for instance, she helped humanity with things like weaving and cooking. Not to mention, she taught within medical practices, further making her a goddess of healing. Now, Pallas Athena was the daughter of Zeus, aka Jupiter, and she was known as a warrior goddess. Athena wasn't born from a woman, she was born from the forehead of Jupiter, and in some versions, she had no mother. But in other versions, Jupiter swallowed consort Metis, who was pregnant with Athena. She then escapes through Jupiter's forehead. It was Athena, Aphrodite, aka Venus, and Hera, aka Juno, whose feud actually led to the beginning of the Trojan War. Which I find interesting because Venus and Juno in our charts often point toward love, but I suppose also rivalry and evening the score. Athena was also part of the matriarch. Her, Pallas, and Medusa made up the triple moon. They were the maiden, the mother, and the crone. Indeed, she was one and the same with Pallas and Medusa. But after entering Greek culture, Athena became a symbol of the new patriarchal order. Athena actually ended up slaying Medusa, and she also killed Pallas. Oh, and in case you're wondering, because I was quite confused whenever I was learning about this, but Pallas was the daughter of Triton, who was the sea god and the son of Poseidon, aka Neptune. Athena and Pallas were close friends, but Athena accidentally killed her. And so what happened was Athena took Pallas's name for herself. Taking her name represented her grief. She killed her whilst they were practicing martial exercises. But slaying Medusa, that was no accident. It was actually Athena who turned Medusa's hair, into snakes. And any man who would look at her would turn to stone. After finding out Pallas had violated Medusa in Athena's temple, Athena outrageously punished Medusa. So wrong, I know. She actually helped Perseus, another child of Zeus, kill Medusa, who of course was a gorgon. She even displayed the head of Medusa in the center of her sheet. Also, Poseidon and Athena battled for Athens. Pallas Athena won the battle, and so this is where we see how Athens got its name. Indeed, Pallas Athena was known as a warrior goddess, like I said. But surprisingly, she was strategic about her battles and would only go to war when she was forced to. She even defeated Aries, the god of war, on the battlefield twice. Naturally, she also lost some battles. For instance, she lost against Aphrodite during the Judgment of Paris. Though, according to a website I found, Athena derived more pleasure from peaceful resolutions of disputes than from battle. So, what does this mythology of Pallas tell us about the asteroid's function within our natal chart? So let's consider how Pallas Athene was the goddess of war and justice, meaning there is a political and justice side to this asteroid in the natal chart. There are brave, strategic, courageous, fierce, and strong qualities to this asteroid. She is willing to fight for and defend justice, always, but in a much more demanding and stand your ground type of way when compared to Venus, perhaps. Therefore, Pallas in your chart will show you how you defend yourself in battle, in a poised and diplomatic, yet very defensive way. Perhaps we can turn to wise counsel for help, keeping in mind the owl that accompanied Pallas Athene and how the owl can signify wisdom. Perhaps we can draw from wisdom to help us settle things and to reach solutions. Though following on from this point, Pallas in our charts also points toward our creative intelligence. Keeping in mind, Pallas Athene was also the goddess of arts and crafts. So, how creative, original, inventive, imaginative, how explorative can you be? Do you consider yourself to be a visual person, a creative person? Can you see patterns and connections in things? How are you at reading symbolism? Are you flexible? Are you curious? Perhaps you have great foresight. Creative intelligence is often referred to as experiential intelligence, which involves our ability to deal with new problems. We draw from our existing knowledge and come up with solutions. Now, on the other hand, maybe you struggle with dyslexia or color blindness, or you suffer from some type of mental illness. Naturally, these things can impact our creative intelligence in both positive or challenging ways. Still, maybe it's that Pallas in your chart can point toward your muse. It can show you your muse. This asteroid can represent our source of inspiration. Now, Pallas Athene was also the goddess of healing and health. Therefore, this asteroid is linked to healing in our charts. She governs things like psychotherapies such as, art therapy, behavior therapy, hypnotherapy, group therapy. And she can also be tied to things like guided meditations or affirmations. There is a correlation in this way with manifestation. Acupuncture and Reiki are also some examples of spiritual healing practices. Perhaps you have needed some type of guidance or assistance or healing, and so you've reached out for these types of practices and services. Pallas can also shed some light on our fears regarding success and competition. So, for instance, do you hide your gifts and talents, or do you feel insecure about the things you have to offer the world? Fears of losing might hold you back from competing or showing up, though on the flip side, being obsessed with victory and winning is also a possibility. Though the last thing that I want to mention before we get into the signs is to do with how Pallas Athene was born from Zeus's head. She is connected to the father in our charts. She also points toward potential daddy issues. Now, this can show up in many different ways. Some of us may be desperate for our father's love, our father's attention, though others of us might quite literally be petrified, frightened of his very existence. Whatever the case, Pallas indicates potential father complexes. Right, so just one more quick thing here before we do get into these signs. Do remember the ruling planet or planets of the sign your Pallas is in. So for example, if your Pallas is in Sagittarius, then look for Jupiter in your chart. The placement of your ruling planet or planets will give you more information. And also make sure to consider aspects to Pallas. Do remember as well things like transits, secondary progressions, and so on, because these things will show you how things can change, how they can progress over time. And if you want to learn more about your partner's Pallas, make sure to look at the synastry between you, look at the composite chart as well. Basically, find Pallas in your partner's chart. Oh, and by the way, you're looking for this glyph, this symbol right here in your natal chart. You do need to select Pallas from the additional object section on astro.com. Okay, so let's get into the signs. Pallas in Aries. Your creative intelligence shows how quickly you come up with solutions to new issues. You are innovative, you're a pioneer, you think on your feet, and you act as your own source of inspiration. You'll fight for the things you believe in, for the things that you believe are right and true. You're typically the first person to set things in motion as well. You would rather face injustice head on. You might also possess strong political views. You won't be easily swayed. You'll stand up for the vulnerable, for the weak. Perhaps you choose not to seek any type of healing from others because you want to deal with things on your own. Then again, perhaps sports, physical activity, or screaming can contribute to your healing, or you actively seek healing practices. You might also possess a love for high level competition or for healthy competition, and you don't typically fear losing. Pallas in Taurus. Your creative intelligence shows how visual you can be, how artistic you can be. You'll visualize how a new issue can be solved. In fact, you might use your physical senses to work your way through it. You are in tune with the natural world, and you're also artistic. You might turn to things like art, culture, food, music, and all things beautiful as sources of inspiration. You'll use your common sense in political debates or when it comes to political issues. And you'll try your best to remain calm in situations that are really unjust. But you'll also possess fixed opinions. Yes, my blue light just turned off there, but it's okay. We're just going to keep going. We're going to keep going. Also, perhaps you take your time when deciding on a healing method. You want to know if it's going to be truly valuable. Perhaps natural medicine, cooking, sewing, or gardening contribute to your healing. And when you find something that works, you stick to it. You might not be fond of competition, but if you know that you'll come out winning, you'll compete or you might participate. Pallas in Gemini. Your creative intelligence shows how intellectual and communicative you can be. You'll use your words to come up with solutions to new issues, and you'll draw from the information you have gathered. You might know a thing or two about the issue due to how you can pick up bite-sized pieces of knowledge everywhere you go. You're a master with words, and you might turn to writers, teachers, media, reading as sources of inspiration. You'll use your sharp wit within the realm of politics, and you'll communicate when justice should be served, in your opinion. However, your views are subject to change. You're curious about a variety of healing methods, perhaps talking, poetry, or learning contribute to your healing, and you'll pass on what you learn to others as well. There can be times when you will gladly participate, but also times when you would much rather leave it. Pallas in Cancer. your creative intelligence shows how intuitive and in tune you can be. You'll feel through any issues that arise and know how to comfort others in the process. Your hypersensitivity and empathy help you figure things out. You assess the deeper layers, the things that can't necessarily be seen but are felt. You're perceptive. You might turn even to caregiving, art, music, food, family, or history as sources of inspiration. You'll defend your loved ones with a tenacious stance, and if others hurt your family, for instance, you will fight honorably so. You'll also defend your heritage as well as children and the elderly, and you are drawn toward healing practices that are revitalizing and comforting. Perhaps bathing, cooking, affection, or family time contribute to your healing, and you'll support others through their own healing as well. You prefer to feel competitive environments out before deciding to participate. Pallas in Leo. Your creative intelligence shows how animated and expressive you can be. You'll use your gifted creativity and vision to come up with solutions to new issues. And you'll sure know how to put on a show throughout the process. You typically won't shy away from expressing how you see things, and you'll enjoy the attention and the praise that you receive for being a star. You aim to impress. You might even turn to storytelling, performing, romance, and dating as sources of inspiration. And you'll use your leadership and charisma when it comes to politics. When you want to create justice, you won't be swayed. You're interested in healing methods that involve play, pleasure, and liveliness. Perhaps art, therapy, comedy, dance, or drama contribute to your healing, and you'll be proud of your progress. You aren't likely to back down from competition because you'll want to prove yourself. You'll want to show the world what you're made of. Pallas in Virgo. Your creative intelligence shows how analytical and detail-oriented you can be. You'll examine solutions to new issues up close, and you'll notice the tiny errors that many overlook. In this respect, you break things down and you strip things back to their simplest form. There is something purifying about this process. You don't typically like to complicate things, and if others need your help, you'll want to assist in any way that you can. High quality and doing the job correctly are important. You might turn to medicine, sewing, pottery, or health as sources of inspiration. And politically speaking, you'll be practical and hands-on. You'll have high expectations of yourself, and you will recognize any justice or legal changes that should be made. You'll use discrimination when considering healing methods. Perhaps yoga, nutrition, exercise, or crafts contribute to your healing. You can be humble when competition is concerned, but you're also willing to put your best foot forward. Pallas in Libra. Your creative intelligence shows how diplomatic and fair-minded you can be. You'll consider all the moving parts when coming up with solutions to new issues, and you'll assess how things relate to one another. Perhaps there is never a simple black and white answer because you see the grey. Also, you'll typically want to remain rational and fair. You possess a desire to bring balance. Anything too far one side can make you feel uneasy. You might turn to beauty, fashion, design, or music as sources of inspiration. And when it comes to politics and justice, you can be a natural mediator. You'll see what needs to be done legally, and you can be a defender of justice. You'll weigh out your options when considering healing methods. Tai Chi, couples therapy, counseling, and meditation contribute to your healing. Perhaps you have a take it or leave it attitude toward competition, but there is a part of you that wants to win. Pallas in Scorpio. Your creative intelligence shows how deep and perceptive you can be. You want to get to the root of any new issue, and the solutions you come up with will come from a piercing place. Indeed, you see what's going on beneath the surface, and you can bring whatever information that is hidden to light. By making what is unconscious conscious, you can do remarkable things. However, this is a strength that shouldn't be taken lightly. You can use what you find for better or for worse. Still, you might turn to investigation, sex, mystery, or the paranormal as sources of inspiration. And politically speaking, you can keep your cards close to your chest. You won't reveal your strategy, especially to enemies. When you want justice, you can be dominant, devoted, and intense. You can be very passionate when it comes to any healing methods. Scream therapy, sex therapy, hypnosis, or symbolic art. These things can contribute to your healing. You can be determined when it comes to competitive matters. You'll be controlled and strong. Pallas in Sagittarius. Your creative intelligence shows how moral and conceptual you can be. When you come up against new issues, you use your moral compass for guidance. Your solutions are typically reflective of the bigger picture. You want to do the right thing, and at the same time, your imagination can lead the way. You also consider universal principles and truths. You might turn to travel, religion, philosophy, or spiritual knowledge as sources of inspiration. Politically, you can be a defender of truth, and you will be righteous when it comes to law and justice. You'll fight for what you believe in. You can be adventurous when considering healing methods. Tarot, humanistic therapy, hiking, and lectures contribute to your healing. And in terms of competition, you want to reach your greatest potential. Even when you lose, there is something you gain and learn. Pallas in Capricorn. Your creative intelligence shows how structured, orderly, and practical you can be. You assess the foundation of any new issue, and your solutions will be based on what has already been successfully tried and tested. You'll also want to be the authority of the plan. You'll come up with a strategy that works, and you prefer to gain recognition for your efforts. You might turn to business, drafting, building, or planning as sources of inspiration. And when it comes to politics, you aim to defend law and order. You will make sure justice is served and to be the person in control as well. It might take you time to see which healing methods work best for you, and you won't settle for less either. Massage, laser therapy, rolfing, and dental care contribute to your healing. And competitively speaking, being seen as the big boss might matter to you greatly. You want to be taken seriously. Pallas in Aquarius. Your creative intelligence shows how futuristic and inventive you can be. When a new issue arises, you might jump 2 steps ahead and consider the future possibilities. The solutions you bring forward typically represent what is still to come. This can result in some confusion with others. Still, you're ahead of your time and you like to try out new ways of tackling problems. You might turn to technology, progressive house music, graphics, or design or space as sources of inspiration. Politically, you'll typically defend humanitarian causes. You might be part of certain movements and protests, and you'll fight for freedom and equality and justice. You'll experiment with healing methods too. Group therapy, crystals, vibration, and geometry contribute to your healing. You might appear as if you don't care for competition, but the moment you get to share your uniqueness, you will. And lastly, Pallas in Pisces. Your creative intelligence shows how imaginative and spiritual you can be. When you come up against new issues, you see beyond what is being shown. You have a sixth sense. Therefore, your solutions come from an extremely insightful and intuitive place. You might not even be aware of your psychic abilities. You're a natural born healer. You might turn to fantasy, film, music, photography, or to your dreams as sources of inspiration. And when it comes to politics and justice, you choose the non-violent route. You would prefer it if humanity was compassionate and fighting wasn't an option. You might devote yourself to a cause or to a charity that moves you deeply. Perhaps you consider many types of healing methods. Poetry, art, meditation, or journaling can contribute to your healing. Whilst you can take part in a competition, you still wish the best for the other person or people involved. Okay then, Cosmic Warriors, so that concludes my video all about Pallas in the natal chart. Please do let me know if you find this video to be helpful today. Did you learn something new? Did you relate to your Pallas sign? Yeah, please let us know your thoughts and your opinions in the comment section down below. I would really appreciate that. But with all that being said, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing. And of course, if you would like to see more videos from myself and you have not yet subscribed, then make sure that you click that subscribe button and also give this video a like if you did like it today. And I will be back with another video very soon. Bye!